I was halfway through adjusting my earrings in the restroom of the Bluebird, Chicago's trendiest Michelin-starred restaurant, when the email popped up on my phone. Subject: Horizon Acquisition Final Terms. 250 millimeters offer. I froze. The lighting in the restroom turned my skin golden, the soft jazz from the dining room muffled behind the door. But the black text on my phone screen had the gravity of a courtroom verdict. Horizon Health Technologies had just confirmed the buyout of MedSync, my company, for over $200 million. And in exactly 6 minutes, I was expected to walk into my brother Ryan's engagement dinner, where no one, not my family, not even my brother, had the faintest idea that I was the founder of the company his fiancée worked for. I slid the phone back into my clutch, adjusted my posture in the mirror, and forced myself to breathe. My dress, a black silk sheath, fit like armor, not flashy, just undeniably intentional. Like everything I'd built these past 5 years in silence. When I stepped into the private dining room, the air was heavy with candlelight and casual elitism. My father, David, was already deep in conversation with a man I recognized from medical conference circuits, probably Sophie's father. My mother, Karen, was fussing over place cards as if the seating chart could make or break Ryan's future. "Claire!" Ryan spotted me first and waved me over with that same affable arrogance he'd had since we were kids. "Come meet Sophie." I crossed the room, heels clicking against polished oak. Sophie stood by the window, elegant in a burgundy dress, her posture confident. Her smile was warm, professional. "This is my sister, Claire," Ryan said, not even trying to hide the apologetic undertone in his voice. She, works in tech." "Lovely to meet you," Sophie said, extending her hand. "Ryan talks about you all the time." I nearly laughed. I wondered what he had told her. Probably something like, "She's still figuring it out," or "She's in that in-between phase." "Likewise," I replied smoothly, shaking her hand. Before the conversation could deepen, my mother appeared at my side like a warden on patrol. "Claire, I see you found something to wear." "That's nice," she said, her smile practiced. "We've put you next to Cousin Danielle. You always liked her, didn't you?" Translation: I was being seated away from the power players. I smiled. "Of course. Perfect." Dinner began with a round of champagne toasts. David raised his glass first, his voice booming with pride. "To Ryan and Sophie, a brilliant couple. Ryan, you've made us proud every day of your life. And Sophie, we couldn't be more honored to welcome someone of your accomplishments into our family." Karen followed, highlighting Ryan's resume as if reading his LinkedIn profile aloud. "Chief resident, neurosurgery track, Phi Beta Kappa." She closed with, "And now, with Sophie beside him, the Evans name continues to stand for excellence." Applause, clinks of glass. I sat quietly, my champagne untouched. Margaret, my cousin, leaned toward me. "So Claire, what's your job situation like these days?" Her voice was honeyed, but her eyes flicked with judgment. "I'm in healthcare tech," I said. "Database infrastructure." "Oh, is there room for advancement in that field?" Before I could respond, my uncle chimed in. "Ryan mentioned you might have a lead at Apple. That'd be a good step up for you, huh?" I took a slow sip of water, choosing silence. Across the table, I noticed Sophie watching me more intently now. Her brow was furrowed slightly, like she was solving a puzzle. Then came the pause, the shift. She tilted her head. "Forgive me," she said, loud enough that nearby conversations dimmed. "But is your last name Evans?" The table went still. Ryan laughed. "Of course it is. She's my sister." Sophie didn't laugh. She looked directly at me now, her eyes widened. "Claire Evans, from MedSync?" I set down my fork. "Yes," I said calmly. Sophie's gaze flickered. "Wait, you're the founder? The Claire Evans?" Ryan blinked. "Sophie, I think you've got the wrong—" "No," Sophie said, interrupting. "Your sister is the CEO of the company we've just agreed to acquire for $215 million. The silence was suffocating. David's wineglass hovered midair. Karen's hand went to her pearls. Ryan's mouth hung open. The invisible girl just became impossible to ignore. If you've ever been overlooked after giving your all, type 1, you're not alone. Sophie Hartman's fork clinked softly against her plate as her eyes locked onto mine. You're Claire Evans, the founder of MedSync? She repeated, this time not as a question, but as a dawning certainty. Around the table, forks paused midair, conversations died, and champagne glasses froze inches from lips. All attention turned toward me. Yes, I said, letting the silence hang. You're the Claire Evans whose company we're about to acquire at Horizon? Sophie's voice, normally polished and composed, now had a crack of disbelief. I didn't know you were Ryan's sister. Your internal profile didn't have a photo. It was intentional, I said quietly. My father blinked hard, his face paling. My mother's hand fluttered to her necklace. Ryan looked between us like someone had spoken a language he didn't understand. No, he muttered, shaking his head. That's not... Claire, you told us you were working in tech support. You never said... You never asked, I replied. His face hardened. You could have told me. You let me talk about Sophie's promotion, about her company, and you just sat there. I was proud of her, I said, meaning it, and I didn't come here to perform. The word perform settled over the table like fog. I saw my mother flinch slightly. Sophie composed herself. For context, she addressed the group, her voice now full PR mode. MedSync is one of the most innovative platforms in healthcare communications. It's already in use across more than 300 facilities nationwide. The acquisition is strategic, and it's been intense. David finally found his voice. $215 million? Sophie nodded. Pending final approvals, yes. Karen's mouth opened, then closed again. I could hear the shift, the recalibrating. Their daughter wasn't failing. She was leading, and no one at this table had seen it coming. The rest of the dinner was a blur. Cousins who'd previously asked if I needed job referrals were suddenly inquiring about angel investing. An uncle told me he always knew I had a spark. My mother mentioned, 3 separate times, that I had shown an early talent with computers. Each time she said it, I wondered if she believed it. Only Ryan remained mostly quiet. When the plates were cleared and coffee arrived, he asked me to step outside. The air was cold and biting. We stood in the alley behind the restaurant, framed by dim string lights and the low hum of the city. So, was this the plan? He asked, arms folded. To blindside all of us? No, I said. The plan was to build something that mattered, and survive. His jaw tensed. You didn't think I deserved to know? I looked at him. Really looked. I used to try, Ryan. Every family dinner, every text, every moment I wanted to share something meaningful. But it always came back to you. Your residency, your research, your latest first. I stopped trying to be visible in a room where no one looked up. Ryan opened his mouth, then closed it. I continued, voice steady now. You once told me that success was earned, that if I was good at what I did, the world would notice. So I earned it. The world noticed. Just not you. I didn't mean it like that, he muttered. I know, I said, but it stuck. Inside, I could see Sophie through the window, fielding questions from my parents like a diplomat handling foreign dignitaries. You know this changes everything, Ryan finally said. I tilted my head. Why? Because now they'll act like they always believed in you. I smiled. Let them. We re-entered the dining room. My father was mid-monologue about his years of quiet confidence in my abilities. Karen was listing off the schools she almost encouraged me to apply to for engineering. Sophie pulled me aside gently. Claire, I had no idea. If I'd known... It's okay, I said. You were doing your job. She hesitated. Some of the terms, they were assuming your company was founder light, that you'd stay on for optics, then step back. But now, that narrative's gone. I nodded. Good. She leaned in slightly. Just know, the board doesn't like surprises. And this was a Category 5. I gave her a tight smile. Then they should have Googled me. If someone ever tried to rewrite your story once it was successful, type 2. You deserve to own your narrative. The Monday morning after the engagement dinner, I opened my inbox expecting contracts and investor summaries. Instead, I found 37 unread emails, all from relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Subject lines ranged from, "So proud of you, Claire," to, "Quick investment idea. Call me?" The one from my mother was the only one that didn't make me cringe. It simply said, "Subject, brunch at the Drake. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. No explanation. No emoji. Just the kind of direct summons you get from a corporate attorney used to closing billion-dollar deals. I arrived precisely at 11 g. My parents were already seated in a corner booth by the window. Both were dressed as if this were a deposition, not brunch. My mother's blazer was cream wool, her pearls unmistakable. My father's tie was navy, no wrinkle in sight. "Claire," he said, standing awkwardly as I approached. "You look well." Karen leaned in to kiss my cheek. "Darling, we have so much to talk about. I stayed up all night reading about MedSync, funding rounds, the tech world feature, your patent filings. Why didn't you ever tell us?" I placed my napkin in my lap. "I think you know why." My father's voice tightened. "We always supported you." "No," I said carefully. "You supported your version of me, the one who applied to law school, the one who married a doctor, not the one who built something you didn't understand." Karen frowned. "But we were just trying to guide you toward stability. Tech startups fail all the time." I nodded. And yet, mine didn't. The waiter appeared with coffee. We all paused, letting silence do what it always had in my family, carry unspoken disappointments like invisible luggage. David finally said, "Maybe we pushed you too hard. But look at what you've accomplished. Perhaps our pressure motivated you." I forced a smile. "And now you'd like credit for it?" His jaw twitched. "That's not what I said." "No," I replied. "But it's what you meant." The rest of brunch oscillated between awkward praise and defensive revisionism. Karen told me she'd mentioned my early interest in tech to her book club for years. David said he'd always believed I was more than capable. It was like watching someone try to Photoshop themselves into a picture they were never part of. At one point, my mother leaned across the table. "You know, Jason always spoke highly of you. He said you were stubborn, but brilliant." I took a deep breath. I needed more than approval by proxy. I needed to be seen, and I wasn't. We parted with vague plans for dinner next week. Progress, perhaps. But healing is rarely cinematic. It's uncomfortable, uneven, and still necessary. That evening, Jason showed up at my apartment with a bottle of Cabernet and a sheepish smile. "I figured we might need this," he said. I let him in, surprised. He looked around my sleek, sun-drenched penthouse, eyes widening. "This place is insane." "It's modest," I said, "compared to the number of hours I worked." We sat on the couch. He poured the wine. "I've been a jerk," he started. "Only sometimes," I said. He chuckled. "No, really. I liked being the one everyone bragged about. It was easy. You didn't make waves, and I got the spotlight." "And now?" I asked. "I see what you built, and I realize I never asked, never really listened." "That makes two of us," I said quietly. We talked for hours, for real this time. Not as competitors, not as reflections of our parents' expectations, but as people. He told me about Sophie's admiration for MedSync, about his fears of becoming irrelevant in a world increasingly driven by technology. I told him about late nights coding with Jade, our first prototype crashing mid-demo, and the investor who once tried to lowball us and steal our IP. She fought back, I said. Jade threatened to leak emails. He backed down. Jason blinked. Damn. Yeah. By the time he left, something unspoken had shifted. Maybe we'd never be close the way TV siblings are, but at least we were real now. The next morning, as I reviewed the acquisition draft from Horizon, a new clause had appeared, one that hadn't been in the earlier versions. post-acquisition leadership of MedSync division to transition to Director S. Hartman within 6 months. My stomach dropped. Sophie, I texted her immediately. Need to talk. Just saw the clause about you leading MedSync. Is this real? Her reply was short. Yes. Let's talk off the record. Tonight. If you've ever had someone smile at you while quietly reaching for your crown, type 3. Some power plays are dressed like promotions.